Want to jump right back into the high school football conversation with our good buddy Mark Trible of the Courier Post. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Sully.
You sound fired up today, man. Must be high school football playoffs.
You know I am, man. You know I am.
Yeah, we're looking to get a Elite 11 South Jersey sports reporter / broadcasters going. Where do you fit yourself in? Where do you slot in?
Number one.
What? Nick was like, he's going to put himself number one.
I didn't say that. I said, what do you think, Trible number one?
Well, when everybody, when you kind of know that's where I'm supposed to fall, then that's a good omen for me. I'd put myself up there.
I don't know if I told Nick, I said, I don't know if he's got the years in. I mean, you got guys like Minnick and McGarry been doing it for 30 years. Yeah,
I think. Look, man, they're both just the best, man. It's hard to go against Minnick and McGarry. I don't know if I can hold my water with those guys, but I think the three of us, if we were ever united somewhere, would just demolish everybody else. I'll say that. The super team.
You would definitely get a lot of the fan vote. You got the hats off thing going on. You're pretty active on Twitter.
Yeah, pretty active on Twitter. Got a lot of tweets, Sully. A lot of tweets this time of year.
He's verified on Twitter too.
Great.
Yeah, you're verified on Twitter. That's big.
Yeah, been verified, so it's hard. I don't get hacked.
That gets you some of those first place votes in parentheses.
I like it. I like your methodology, whatever it is. Whether it's Nick's informed opinion, whether it's verified. Extra first place ballots. Either way, I'll take it.
I'll work on the what's when the vote comes out for the college football
playoff.
What do they call that?
The committee vote.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that going this week. The initial standings.
The initial 11.
Well, I think the important thing is, Sully. You've heard my evaluation. If it's your Elite 11, where do you put me?
I don't know, because you also got to
put him on the spot.
Well, you also got to factor in Tom Williams. I mean, he's got the history going.
True.
He's a stat man. You need any kind of stat, you could just text him, give him a call, and boom, he's got you the rushing leader from 1985 in the Cal.
There are a lot of guys who really do some great work behind the scenes stats and stuff too. And those, like, you look at what Will Morris does with the playoffs. When he comes up with all those calculations, man, Will's got to be in the top 11. He does work for a media outlet.
Will's grinding, man, with the playoff projections all season long.
We'll have to figure out what the parameters are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, figure it out, and when you put me at the top of that thing, I'll tweet it out on my verified account.
We'll work on it, man. We'll work on it.
That'd be cool to do that.
I would say I'm somewhere in the middle, I think.
I don't know about that, so.
He's about to put you lower than the middle.
Well, I do have a little bit of a limited coverage area at this point, so.
Yeah,
I mean, we haven't talked.
I know you were in that rain last night at Holy Spirit. I got sources who told me you were like a fish in water last night. And I got a lot of respect for that, so you get points for that.
Dude, I was snorkeling on the sideline.
Everybody's giving you props for that.
That's great. Oh, man, the Spartans they just rolled them, didn't they?
Yeah, they got a couple of turnovers early, and it was 16-0 after the first quarter. It was only 22-8 at halftime, but they ripped off 20 points in the third quarter and kind of put that thing to bed. And it was really fun. You might be a little young for this reference, too, but I mentioned to Kevin Minnick, after the game kind of reminded me of, or during the game, first quarter kind of reminded me of All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise.
You're right. I am a little young for that reference.
You never watched that movie?
No, I haven't. So.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
There's better football movies.
I've disappointed you. I'm sorry. That cannot affect my ranking.
Well, here's the thing. I'll give you a quick brief thing about Tom Cruise is defensive back for a high school team, Pipe High in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's already unrealistic.
He's 5'7". Of course he's a D-back. So Craig T. Nelson's the coach. They make a big stop at the goal line in a just basically a game like last night at Holy Spirit with torrential rain and mud, and so they're trying to run the ball out of the end zone. They fumble it into the end zone and lose the game, and that starts a whole big riff with Tom Cruise and Craig T. Nelson.
Look, I did watch every episode of Coach at least twice in my life, so that has to count for something by proxy.
I'll tell you what, I was telling Nick I was kind of being a little bit of a wuss before the game. 5:15 or so. It's pouring down rain as I'm leaving my apartment, going up to Absecon. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna stink. I'm gonna be standing out there in the rain and getting all muddy and wet. But once I got there and you get into it, I mean, that was a really cool environment for high school football, and to be a player in a game like that must have been awesome. You're just sliding all around, getting all muddied up.
Well, we played on turf last night at the RV Lenape game where I was up in Mount Holly. Beautiful facility up in RV. And it's really been a lot of rain, and last week I saw Lenape play in the rain. So, I wasn't exactly, jacked up to go out there and stand in it. But having done it a couple of times this year, it wasn't too bad. It was a cool environment. And, I don't know what, today it's going to be really, really frigid, cold, and windy. So I didn't think the rain was that bad because it wasn't like a heavy downpour where I was. It just kind of more of an annoyance. But the temperature was warm, which was nice.
Dude, it's 46 degrees right now. What are you talking about frigid? Where are you from, Virginia?
We don't live in the same place. So there's a lot of miles between me and you, pal.
It will be a little bit windy, but come on, man, 45 degrees, that's nothing.
It's a low of 30. You play at 7 p.m. tonight with the wind, it's going to feel like 18.
Come on, tough it up, Trible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, Sully. I would rather be in the warm rain than the frigid cold, but you know what? We'll do both of them.
I'll tell you what, Mark, if you're a high school football fan, this is an incredible Saturday. How do you even pick a game to go to?
Well, you got to try to balance it out, I guess. You got to be better at math and time than I am. There are some great games. You start down at Pennsgrove at noon against Buna. I think Salem plays at 1 over against Gateway. Highlands at 2 against Clearview. Or Highlands at 5 against Clearview, I'm sorry. Camden's at 3 against West Deptford. That's the game where I'll be, which I think it could be one of the best matchups on paper of the year. You're right. There's some late ones, too. Burlington Township hosted Timber Creek. Williamstown hosted Vineland. I think Millville's the game that's at 2, right? Millville, yeah. They host Shawnee. So a lot of great action.
Man, just stay by your Twitter. Get your portable battery in your pocket because it's going to be an all-day affair. You're going to be wanting to check scores all day.
Well, and the thing, Sully, we do that Facebook Live show every week, and at the playoffs get here, you have fewer and fewer teams to talk about, but the thing really goes off interaction. Last week, Josh Friedman, of course, was on it, and Coach Tim McEnany, who led Lenape to the championship last year, he also is on the show now. So that thing went an hour with people commenting, and we're talking about all the games. There's a limited amount of matchups, and we could talk for 2 hours. And this week there'll only be like 6 games to talk about or 7 games. And when we're done, we're going to be like, man, we could have kept talking about that. Or, we thought about this point. There's so much that goes into these final games and the interest for it. South Jersey really is a special place for high school sports. As somebody who's not from the area and has been outside it, it's really a special interest that the people here have in their sports and a pride. And it's a pleasure to be a part of it.
So how are you going to manage today? What games are you going to?
Well, I'm definitely going to go to the Camden West Deptford game. That's 3. So it depends how that game goes. And usually, Sully, I write in the parking lot after the game. And if I get my stuff done, I might head up to Burlington Township or maybe down to Williamstown or one of these night games. And we'll see. We'll play it by ear.
So what do you think is the most intriguing game? To me, it's Vineland and Williamstown. I mean, you look at a Vineland team that I don't think anybody really expected a lot of them in the playoffs. They lost their quarterback right before the start of the tournament, goes down with a broken collarbone, and boom, they plug this Powell kid in, and all of a sudden they're in the second round, and and playing well. And I got to believe they believe in themselves, and they're kind of playing that underdog role to the hilt.
I think Vineland is an intriguing game. I think any of these rematches are intriguing. I know we had a couple last night where the team that won the first one moved on again. And then we had Wilson, who, of course, kind of went down and stunned Delsey, rolled past them. I think, honestly, Sully, it's Camden and West Effort. And I know I'm a little biased because I'm headed there and have been looking forward to it, but I think it's the most intriguing because you have a complete contrast in the past for these two schools, right? West Effort is in the championship, it seems like, every year. They win it very often. Camden hasn't won a championship since 1976, and this might be their best team overall with the depth and everything since then. Then 2015 team was very good as well, lost in the finals to Delsey, but Coach Dwayne Savage told me that team didn't have the depth this team has. Camden High and West Effort, very different places, but Camden in the past, everybody thinks about their skill level. They like to throw the ball. This team really likes to run it and play physical defense. So they've been so good. They're kind of fighting themselves and the ghosts of the past. Can they get over the hump and maybe see Hadfield in that championship? Can they get it done there? And West Effort they just do what they do. Workmanlike, wing tee, good defense, and I just think it's a really compelling matchup.
I think the real key for that game is, can Camden get on the board first? If they can set the tone and score a touchdown on maybe their first possession, something like that, where you get West Effort playing from behind, that's not something they want to do typically. But their team, West Effort, I remember a couple of years ago they were playing Cedar Creek in the championship game, and Cedar Creek had maybe 6 possessions the entire game because West Effort's grinding out these 10, 12 play, 7-minute drives.
Yeah, and Sully, you know what I love about high school football at the playoff time is we see these teams all year. We see their stats. We know their best players. There have been some impressive wins and maybe some setbacks we're not sure about. But here, when we get here, you have to play a full game against a team where if you don't, they will beat you. Any of these games, for the most part. And West Effort's one of those teams. Delsey was one of those teams. Woodrow Wilson had to play a complete game last night, and they did. To beat West Effort, you have to play all 48 minutes because you've seen them. If you don't, they're going to go home a winner. And they would love another shot at Hadfield in the championship.
Oh, without a doubt, for sure. Another game I'm really intrigued with, Mark, is Pennsgrove-Buna. I mean, you're talking about an undefeated Buna team going on the road. That's a tough place to play down in Pennsgrove. It's a little bit of a long drive. And, we'll find out if Buna is for real because that's a really good Pennsgrove team.
Pennsgrove is good. Right off 295, exit 4, Carney's Point, the alma mater of one Bruce Willis. You wonder, will Buna's hopes die hard? But the thing about Pennsgrove, Sully, is in the past they've spread it out and thrown the ball. They like to play physical football as well. You look at Camden, is the same way. These teams have kind of had a philosophical shift over the years to where it's not just that it works on the field for them in week 2. It's supposed to work now. This is what everybody says. You got to run the ball. Pennsgrove can run the ball. I know Buna does too. But Pennsgrove has some serious players, and these kids have won from the midgets up. They know what it takes to become a champion, even if they haven't done it at the high school level yet.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I saw them briefly in preseason against Blesville, and I was like, there wasn't a whole lot of scoring going on in the preseason, but you could just look at that team and be like, there's some dudes on this team. They got a couple of real big linemen, and the quarterback's definitely an athlete, a playmaker. So Buna's definitely got its hands full today, but Coach Caputo, he knows how to coach in these games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're right in it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Buna has 25 kids on the roster. What a job he's done with that team. They could be, you're exactly right, they could come right down to the end. Gateway and Salem, another great one in Group 1. You could have Salem and Pennsgrove, that bitter rivalry in the final, or Gateway's resurgence just continues. They've been excellent. I know we've talked about them a couple times. They're undefeated as well. 3 undefeated teams in the semifinals. Today's going to be great. and South Jersey should enjoy it, whether they're out there or checking on Twitter or whatever. It really should be a spectacular day of football.
Awesome, great stuff as always, Mark. Like you said, we got some great storylines going on, and I'm sure they'll continue in the next weekend. We'll catch up with you next week and talk all about championship games.
Hey, thanks, Sully. Thanks, Nick. You guys be good.